Thank you, Cathaoirleach. I would like to second everything that Senator Mary-Louise has just said, and I intended to start out my contribution also acknowledging, how the empathy that I feel in the position that I was in relation to being a teen mother, an unmarried mother, and from a disadvantaged background. So in any other time would have fit all the criteria of somebody that would have been outcast by society. And although I can never truly understand what women and children have gone through, I can appreciate and understand that, I very nearly could have been in that position as well. I also speak as the daughter of an unmarried mother. And I remember being elected to President of the Union in Trinity, and I always thought about the mother and baby homes as things that we read and learned in school, and as if it was our history. And I very much realised that it wasn't our history, that it is our present. When I received a letter from a woman, and one of many letters, when my headlines start hitting the papers, and people had said to me, are you not annoyed that the papers keep labelling you as a single mother? And I hadn't really thought about it, and I was like, not really, no, I'm okay with it. And mainly I'm okay with it was because of those letters I received from women that had their children forced from their arms and put up for forced adoptions. And the letters that they wrote to me, both sadness and joy in the fact that I was being celebrated for my success and determination as a single mother, where only a few years previous to me they were outcast for the very same thing. They were sad that they never got the chance that I got and the opportunity that I got, but they were also happy that they had got to see that in their lifetime, where there began to be a shift in public thinking. In 1967, our own state statistics state that 97% of non-marital children were taken for adoption. That's a huge amount of children. And my concern is that the Commission as it stands, if the scope is not widened to all institutions, private institutions, registered adoption agencies, maternity hospitals, if we don't widen the scope as far as possible, at least 2/3 of those women and families will not get their answers if we keep it as narrow as the ones that are put before us. The investigation needs to be expanded. We have an ageing population that if we don't include all of those that colluded in this, well then we risk the whole population of women that were put into those homes never receiving their truth, never getting to the bottom of being able to maybe reconcile with their loved ones, with their children, tell their children that they did want them and have their story heard. And we need to be very careful of the timeline, I know, because it is going against us, and the longer we wait, we risk never knowing the truth, because all of those women will soon, over the next so many years, and do you know what, it's probably even a stretch saying so many years. I mean, in 1996, St Patrick's on the Navan Road was only closed. I mean, this is not our too distant past. And we need to remember that, and we need the investigation to reflect that. Tuam is not an isolated case. The Adoption Rights Alliance and the Justice for Magdalene Research is aware of over 180 institutions, agencies and individuals who were involved in Ireland's mothers and their children. There may be unmarked graves similar to Tuam at institutions run by the Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary of Bessborough, Sean Ross Abbey and Castle Pollard. Many Magdalene women also remain unidentified and in unmarked graves. The Commission's terms of reference has to expand, and it needs to include all institutions, agencies and individuals. We spoke earlier on about, being slow to criticise, the Catholic Church or the nuns involved. I think that's all that we can do is criticise, because at every level there was collusion, and we can't go lightly on something that happened just because there's also other work going on, and we can't let that cloud our judgment. Where the Commission knows that there's institutional unmarked graves, they must notify the nearby coroners. I note that you said that you want to respect the memories of the babies, and rightly so, but I feel that this can only be done by identifying those babies and their relatives, and that they have the right to know the circumstances of the death and to arrange proper burials. Every child and adult that died in institutional care needs to be identified, and that's how we will respect them. The Commission itself and how it's carried out and the investigation process needs to be reformed. The Commission must hold public hearings and invite people involved in running the homes to speak, as well as allowing those who allege abuse to speak. The Commission of Investigation Act 2004 needs to be amended so evidence given to the Commission in private can be published without criminal prosecution. The exemption of Commission investigation records to FOIs needs to be repealed. Evidence given to the Commission needs to be admissible in the court of law. The treatment of mothers and children needs to be analysed from the perspective of constitutional rights, not by the standard of what was legal at the time. High likelihood that much of the relevant legislation violated the constitutional human rights of mothers and babies involved. I read a quote from the apology when the apology was given by Juliet Gillard, and one woman said that she lay in bed every night with her arms wrapped around her baby inside of her, knowing that she would never hold him again after that. And she said that she would like to talk to him one day and tell him that she and her father and his father loved him. And we can only achieve that by freeing ourselves from the unknown, by expanding that investigation. And we can only find that truth, Minister, when we free ourselves. Expanding the scope of the Commission can unearth that unknown. And we owe this to the women of Ireland who can't tell their truth and tell their children that they love them. We are only as sick as our secrets, and our secrets are as deep as the abyss, and we owe it to all involved to uncover them. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Senator Ruane. Next speaker, Senator